Happy last day of
Sorry. Happy last day of Hanukkah. Yes, Zot Hanukkah. So, I don't think that we saw this when we were learning Birkot HaShachar in the general prayer, and Michael last week asked about what is the source for some of these blessings. So, besides the Talmud, of course, some of the wording is in one of the last chapters of Tehillim, Psalm 146. And we don't give thanks to Hashem for this list, but let's just go through the list. First, David praises Hashem for Oseh Mishpat LaAshukim, secures justice for those who are wrong. Oshek and Esek is already mentioned with Yitzchak when he redug I don't know if there's such a word, the wells that his father dug. So one of the wells was called Esek because it was basically being fought over. Then Noten Lechem LaRe'evim gives food to the hungry. Lechem usually means bread, but here it's generally speaking for those who are hungry, whatever food they need. And then the first one is that we do say thank you is Adonai Matir Asurim, and then Pokeach Ivrim, Zokef Kevufim, not Ohev Tzadikim. Of course, he loves the righteous, but we don't thank Hashem for that. We do thank Hashem for that in the 12th or 13th blessing in Shmoneh Esrei, and the same with Hashem Shomer Gerim, which we again say in the previous blessing where we talk about the Malshinim, and also in Al Tzadikim, and then Yatom v'Amana Yoded, Hashem will cheer or give courage to the orphan and the widow, and he will also distort the way of the wicked. And we don't thank Hashem for that because it's Hashem's business what happens to the Rishaim. We don't usually pray for something bad for them to happen, not because they don't deserve it, but because it's not a general speaking. And then he concludes with the verse that we read in Kedusha every single day, Imloch Hashem L'olam Elokayich Tzion Ador V'Dor Hallelujah. So that's a general introduction to these blessings. And now about some of these specifically, and I asked the rabbi before about one of our yeshiva members who contacts prisoners, and he and I talked about this a couple of times, where do we say the blessing if we are actually in prison? So there's a dispute among the prominent Rishonim about whether one may recite one of the Birkot HaShachar from which she does not derive direct personal pleasure. For instance, may a blind person recite Pokeach Ivrim? According to the Rambam, Maimonides, and Laws of Prayer, only one who derives pleasure from something may recite a blessing on it. So, for example, going to a totally different area, if somebody lost their sense of smell during COVID, Rabbi Schechter wrote that they don't uh, recite the blessing but they're allowed to answer amen if there's somebody else making the Havdalah, but they can't say it if it's only them. Therefore, one who slept in her clothes does not recite Malbish Arumim, as she does not get dressed in the morning. A cripple does not recite Hamechim Tzadei Gaver. A paralytic does not recite Matir Surim or Zokef Kevufim. And like I said before, there's a different explanation for what Matir Surim is, which literally means Hashem frees those who are imprisoned. But some other people say that that's a different way of saying Shulas Ani Avid, because when you're in prison, you are also a slave to somebody else. And Zokef Kefufim, standing up straight. Some people of Yemenite descent follow Rambam's opinion, like we saw earlier, and Shulchan Aruch considers this opinion and rules that these brachot are recited without God's name. So for a person that suffers from any of these restraints, then according to Shulchan Aruch, you don't say it. In contrast, according to the Gaonim, including Rav Natronai Gaon and Rav Amram Gaon, one must recite all Birkot HaShachar in order, whether or not one enjoys the object of the bracha, because they were instituted based on the general pleasures of the world. Furthermore, the fact that others derive pleasure from something can be indirectly useful for someone who does not directly derive pleasure from it. For example, a person who is blind will derive pleasure from the fact that most of the people around them are not blind, and thus the paralytic blesses God for all the other people who can help her. A blind person recites Pokei Achivrim for the fact that others are able to see, show her the way, and tend to her needs, and this is how the Ramah rules, the Ashkenazi custom. Likewise, the opinion of Arizal is that every Jew must recite all of the Birkot HaShachar to thank God for all the general good that He showers on the world. Sephardic practice generally follows Arizal on matters of prayer, and therefore Sephardim also recite all Birkot HaShachar in order. So even though we once said that there's a rule that if there's a contradiction between Kabbalah and Halacha, that we go according to Halacha, because the halacha didn't say that you're not allowed to say it, he just said that because of the fear of uttering Hashem's name in vain, that's why we don't say Hashem's name, but it would be just like we talked about Baruch Dayan Emet and Baruch Shasani Kirtzuno, the Sephardic custom, and so therefore, um, um, that's what we add. But he also has a footnote about Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur, which we said was giving thanks to Hashem for giving us the ability to have shoes, asali kol tzulki, the everything that I need, because I need clothing and I need food and I need sleep and I need other things that Hashem provided. But there are some places that you can walk barefoot. I was in Brazil for 2 weeks, and the like even not on the beach, you are able to walk barefoot in certain areas and times of the what's their summer, which is for us winter. So the bracha of Shasali Kol Tzorki was instituted with regard to footwear. According to the custom of Ashkenazim and some Sephardim, we recite this blessing on Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av, days on which wearing shoes is forbidden, to give thanks for the general pleasures of shoes and for the ability to wear non-leather shoes on those days. Still, the custom of most Sephardim is not to recite Shasali Kol Tzorki on Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur, and maybe a compromise that I heard once, not for Yom Kippur, because nothing changes on Yom Kippur, it's still Yantev, but Tisha B'Av, after Chatzot, we do put on tefillin and other things, and so the custom when we put on tefillin is to say Ozer Yisrael B'Gvurah for the tefillin of the arm, and Oter Yisrael B'Tifara for the head, and therefore also Shasali Kol Tzorki. We're not yet wearing leather shoes, but we can already, since we're already saying some of Birkot HaShachar at Mincha, that is a compromise between those two opinions. And we'll stop here and open up for questions.